welcome to Becca's Garden. I'm Becca and I'm in Zone 9B, and I do a lot of urban gardening. We have a little backyard, a little front yard. We are low income, so you can get a lot of things at the Dollar Tree for $1. All kinds of seeds, lettuce seed, romaine lettuce, iceberg lettuce, wherever you can get some cheap seed. Even MI Gardener does some sales from time to time. I think these were $1.50 a packet. Something you can do for growing food. This was here. This is a little old house. I don't live on the nice side of town like some people thought recently. I live in the old part of town. I have a 1950s little house that we have a mortgage on. This long flower bed here came with the house. It's old. Needs a little repair. It's okay. The soil here was not the best, and I've been growing in our space here for 9 years. For the first 4 to 5 years, I grew in the first couple inches of this raised bed, just adding some soil amendments, peat moss, cocoa coir, compost, earthworm castings, things like that. And things grew pretty well for maybe the first 4 or 5 years, and then it just was not really doing well at all, drainage wise. Just really didn't have enough life in it. So about a year ago, I spent time digging this entire bed out, and it's pretty big. It's, I don't know, I haven't measured it. Maybe it's 12 feet long by 2 feet wide. And I dug it out and threw all that soil onto my front lawn and mixed it in there. And then I spent time filling up this whole bed with some good soil. Just cheap topsoil from Walmart. Scott's topsoil lawn conditioner, because it has some peat moss in it. It's a little bit better broken down. I put vermiculite, perlite, cocoa coir, and that's pretty much how I mix it up. Now, we are in the south, so it's super dry and hot here. And this morning I actually just added a top layer of some more cocoa coir because it seems to be drying out kind of fast. We had a cold front move in, and so things are getting dry, and I want my seeds to stay moist. If your lettuce seed doesn't stay moist, it doesn't germinate. Also, another tip for this is to put this in your refrigerator. If it's really, we've been in the high 90s up until recently. We had a 2-day cold front. And so this week's going to be into the early, like low 60s, I think high of like 80s. This is front morning sun only, so this is actually a really good spot for me to grow lettuce. And I can grow this all through the winter. What I'll have here is just a cheap garden netting that I'll pull up over it to keep the birds out. I got the garden hoops on Amazon, but you could do this with like rebar and hula hoops from the dollar store. And then if there's a frost or a freeze coming, I do have the frost blanket, and I'll pull that over overnight, and then when it warms up in the morning, I can open it up again. And I was going to plant this out in the back, but this is actually the most convenient spot for me for just growing a bunch of lettuce mix. So this will be my salad bowl all through winter into spring. You can hear all our native birds. Yeah, there's just a mix of stuff. This grew really good here. It's that Pablo's lettuce. It's kind of like an iceberg. I've had trouble growing iceberg here. This actually grows really well. I'm going to try this Miner's lettuce. Watercress grows really good here. I've got a salad mix. I'm going to throw in the iceberg. I don't think it always does that good, but maybe it will. I've got some leftover just kind of like red lettuce mixes. I'm out of the Paris Island and the romaine, and there's like a mini gem romaine that does really well here. This is the Burpees salad bowl. So we're just gonna shake it all in. I was trying to grow some things in some seedling trays, but honestly, I've got a few seedlings going. Just trying to get things planted. It's Halloween, happy Halloween. And so I've got a few seedlings down in here that I'm just throwing down in here, and they will kind of just do their thing. So that's what I was trying to do, is cover them up with a little bit of cocoa coir to help insulate and hold in some moisture. And we're just gonna start sprinkling some seed everywhere. So the main thing you want to make sure is that you don't have a bunch of sticks or debris in your bed. Or if there's any chunky mulch, make sure there's no chunky mulch, because that really hinders the seed from germinating. Alright. Just gonna sprinkle them around. Lettuce is super forgiving. It's a little windy, so I don't want this stuff like rolling around outside the bed. So I'm gonna take all that out. Maybe you have really good luck in your area, but I tend to have to sprinkle quite a bit of seed. And some of this is a little bit older seed, so I just want to, I know the germination rate keeps going down. So. I want to make sure I use it. Pablo. Let me use the older one. So it says 60 to 80 degrees for germination. That's where we're at for the next week or so. So that's perfect for planting your lettuce seed. I want to add some miner's lettuce. One. That one's empty. And this is my other old seed. Get this one out as well too. Super simple. Literally all I do is I just sprinkle it around like this, so I make sure it gets spread around so the seed's not clumped up in any one spot. Here's some of my little seedlings. Now, I did add a little bit of, this is a good size bag to get, this earthworm castings from Walmart. You don't need a whole lot, and you can just sprinkle it in. You can use really whatever fertilizer you want to use, but this can actually burn your seedlings, so I actually will mix it in ahead of time, water it in so that it's already like underneath into the soil and not super close to the top where the seedlings are, but once the seedlings get started, they can feed off of it. You can use whatever fertilizer is affordable. You can go buy Triple 10 in a huge bag. You can buy Miracle-Gro. You can buy all the fancy organic stuff you want to go get if you can afford it. But honestly, just make some cheap compost from bagged leaves ahead of time in some bags. Poke some holes, water it in, and put it in a hot sunny spot for about 2 months. You've got free compost. We have an earthworm bin composter that we put scraps in, rice, leaves, grass clippings. Grass clippings and leaves make a really good compost over time in a big black trash bag, and you can have it ready in about 2 months. So you can do that ahead of time. You can do it now and then side dress as a fertilizer later. Like I said, whatever fertilizer you want to use, just make sure you use something because they do need some type of nutrients. Bone meal and blood meal usually goes on sale at the end of the garden season, and you can pick that up on clearance. Sometimes I like to sprinkle a little bit of vermiculite in here. That can be a little bit expensive. And that's to help hold moisture. So is the coconut coir. You can get a big block of the coconut coir for a lot cheaper than you can the vermiculite. So I tend to usually go with the cocoa coir. And just make sure you water this in. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to pull this up and over. Like I said, I've got a lot of birds here. And I usually use these stainless steel clips for laundry. And I just clip them on. Got a few free old bricks that we picked up. And voila, I've got lettuce planted in my front yard. This bed is probably a little over 2 feet deep, so it's super deep. It did cost me initially $150 to fill this with good soil mix using the cheap topsoil, vermiculite, perlite, cocoa coir, and peat moss. And that was, I did that a little bit over a period of time, and then now this is set to just keep adding compost to each season. There's really good drainage. I've got some worms. I make my own compost, and I also make my own bokashi. I know this is a protein jug, but I have a video on my YouTube channel where I make my own fermented bokashi out of whey from milk. I super saturate it after it's fermented and strained with light brown sugar. About a tablespoon of that to 2 gallons of water is a good fertilizer boost. It adds some beneficial bacteria. All it cost me was a gallon of whole milk from Walmart. I use a little bit of rice that I mix with water. I drained the rice out. I saved the rice water, fermented it. That ended up being my natural yeast starter. Added a gallon of milk. That fermented. I drained it, saved all of that whey, and then I just added enough brown sugar until it was super saturated. It will keep fermenting over time, but the more sugar you add to it, it slows down the fermentation, and it keeps it so that it's more of a preserved ferment, and I don't have to store this in my refrigerator. I just store this in a shady spot. I've got a big jug like this in my front yard, and I got another big jug in the back for the backyard, and that's what I help use to fertilize my garden with. Like I said, this will feed me all winter long, hundreds of dollars worth of lettuce. The birds won't be getting it, and I just can come out here and pick it every day. So to keep this so that it germinates, this is a lot like carrot seed. I've pre-watered this bed down the past couple of days, and then we had a cold front, so the wind kind of came through and dried it out a little bit. So you want to check on your fresh seedlings. You just watered it really good right now. You're going to come check it in the evening. You don't want it to be dry. So if it's dry, just give it a really light watering. Come check it in the morning. If it's dry, give it a light enough watering that it'll last through the day. Check it in the evening again about dinner time. You probably need to water it again. So lettuce is going to need watering, especially here where it's hot and dry in the south, at least every day. It's going to need a good watering. Just check on it. If you have the ability to put a drip system in, awesome. I don't. So I just use my hand hose, my cheap little attachment, and I come water it in the morning with my coffee, and in the evening after dinner I check on it. And yeah, that's it. We'll have salad all winter long. Fresh salad, fresh greens, basically for free now, because this planter bed was already here. It did cost me the soil mixture, but like I said, the first 4 to 5 years that I started growing in this garden bed, I only added about 2 to 3 inches to garden in, and that sustained us for the first 4 or 5 years, and we're into our 9th year gardening here. So it's a long-term investment, but the short front investment is if you already have a flower bed, rip out the flowers, rip out whatever's in here, weeds, and you only need to put down about 2 to 3 inches of topsoil in here, mixed in with maybe some, cheap topsoil and peat moss and a little cocoa core, and you can put some triple 10 down, or just miracle grow, and grow your beautiful salad bowl to have fresh greens all season long. We don't really get to grow lettuce in the spring. It's too hot for us. It gets too hot too quick, too fast. So this is our only chance to grow lettuce is in the fall. A lot of the other greens that we get to grow around here is like the Swiss chard and the collards and kale. Those tend to grow spring and fall for us. I've got some beets I'm gonna get started, and then I'll show you guys in the next video. I'm gonna be planting some carrots in my backyard. So thanks for checking out my video on how to grow lettuce seed. I hope you try and grow some lettuce seed somewhere if you have. The thing about being low income and things like that is you can get really resourceful about checking out what's on Marketplace. There's so many gardeners that give up every season. They give up all their stuff for free. Pots, digging utensils, compost, soil, all kinds of things. And I've done that over like that's how I started my garden. It looked redneck as F, and I had pots and stuff from everywhere, from anyone and everyone, and we've tried to sort it out and organize it over the years to make it more efficient and pretty. So my garden looks a little bit prettier in the backyard, but this was always here. This was always here. All I needed to do was just work with what I had, and then over time dig it out and then add all the soil back in that would be a little bit better soil mixture to grow in it long term. So always know that you can start with what you have. You can even do this in your house. Like you can have a little salad mix in your house. Check out the cracky method as well. There's some little boxes that they sell on Amazon. I think it's like $20 for a cracky or hydroponic box, and it could be a cracky method. And you can have lettuce on your countertop all week long. So there's a lot of different ways to grow food to help stretch your budget. Some of it can be a little bit of an initial investment, but you don't need grow lights, you don't need a bunch of racks, you don't need a bunch of expensive fancy stuff. You just need to get started. These are actually sprouting trays from Amazon, and I usually sprout lentils on them, and I decided to just try them out this season and start some new seeds. And I just scoop them out with a little spoon, and I start transplanting them into slightly bigger pots from the Dollar Tree. And then from there, once they're a little bit bigger size, I'll transplant them back out into the garden. So our grow lights went out. We didn't have any grow lights this year, and I wasn't going to reinvest in them. And I just been growing these on my front porch. And then when it was too cold or too hot, I would bring them inside, and I just made sure I watered them twice a day. And that's how I started seeds this season. Super cheap and super easy. And I bought this set of like 5 a few years ago, maybe for, I don't know, $10-12. I don't know what it is now. I know they sell them in like 10 or 20 tray sets or different size sets, but I bought like a 5-pack maybe for $10 or something. So that was super affordable. Check out different ways of growing. You can grow food if you're low income and on a low budget, and you can really help your family eat nutritionally, you know, with very little money, and stretch things out. It makes a big difference. Alright, so if you have any questions, you know, always put them in the comments below. Hit like, share, subscribe, all the things. I love you guys. I know this is a super hard season for everybody. We are all being affected by this in some way, shape, or form. We are a military family. There's a lot of things happening that are super stressful right now. The place I find my most peace is in the garden, so that's where people will find me. And I do try to share with you guys tips and tricks of how to grow food on a budget. Love you. See you next time. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Bye.